33rd episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the last week of February 2011. This episode is titled Stream Me Down. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud community experts, and I'm your host, Jason Atwood. Joining me for the 33rd time is my co-host, Justin Edelstein. How are you doing?
I can't wait for February to go away. I'm glad this is the last week of February.
I know you made a face like, actually next week has a day in it, so that would be the last day.
No.
Oh.
Does it? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant, thank God it's the end of February.
Yes. It is.
Sick of the snow.
And
I want good weather already.
We have a quick and early podcast because this is the only time to schedule it this week. So this is a Tuesday, an odd day to do our podcast, usually on a Thursday.
Good thing you're subscribed in iTunes.
But good thing that there's news on the agenda. So we have a blog post by me, which we'll talk about, Chatter, and bringing it into your productivity and Chatter, two of my favorite topics in the spring release. Amazon launches some competition to Netflix. I think we touched on this last week. Well, it happened today, and actually Netflix fired back with a little bit of their own tutelage.
They did?
Yes, they did.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
And Google Docs news. I was trying to say Google Docs news. We'll talk about. And Imperial launches a product. And then we're going to talk about Quora. A little bit about our experiences using Quora and what we like or dislike about it. We mentioned that in the podcast. So it's kind of like a roundup. Some little bits of news, some not. Let's kick it off with the... and then we'll have the CloudFocus app pick of the week.
As always.
As always. Better to record these in the morning when I'm fully caffeinated. Toward the end of the day, it gets a little bit... a
little sloppy.
So...
Stick to the agenda.
Speaking of sloppy, my blog post this morning about Chatter, entitled Using Chatter Like a Pro, Working It Into Your Workflow, which almost rhymes. Basically, I picked three different things that showed up in the Spring 11 release of Salesforce.com. Chatter is their internal collaboration, sort of taking from a lot of the feature sets of social networking, like statuses and tagging and mentions. They added a lot of new features to Chatter. The three that I think were great and have really brought Chatter from something that we were trying to use. I think we were putting in a lot of time to try to get it to work and to work into our workflow. These three things made it like, oh, I get it. Now it really works the way, not only do I want it to work, but it works as a productivity tool. So the first one and the best is clearly mentions.
Yep. That
you can go in and only in the Chatter interface online, so you can't use it on any of the Chatter mobile or Chatter desktop, but
or the email.
Yeah, or email. But you start typing, you type the @ symbol, and then it basically reads through. You start typing letters J, U, or J, E, J, A, and it'll start typing in. It'll find my name, and then you can click that, and it makes an @me. So very much like Twitter, where you do @somebody. The nice thing about that is, obviously, you do that, and then it sends them a notification. It says, you've been mentioned in a Chatter post. So, like I said, it's a great way to sort of get people's attention towards things. You actually were inquiring about a contact, saying, oh, I can't find this contact in Salesforce. I could have gone into Salesforce, found the contact, copied the link, put in an email, sent it to you, and said, there it is. Why couldn't you find this? But I went in, found the contact, and typed, here it is, @Justin Edelstein, and you got a notification with a link.
I did. So I also got a notification this morning that told me to go to the Google Wave and look at your blog post to edit it.
Well done. Well done bringing Google Wave.
Thank you.
That's very good.
Thank you. I really like App Mentions. It helps us, at Arkus, it helps us collaborate on opportunities, collaborate on projects that we track all in Salesforce. It helps the issue of wanting to post a piece of information or a chatter on a post on a record, and wanting to call attention to somebody and have it be in context, but you could see that they're not following the record, so it's like, oh, I have to put it here and then tell them to go follow it. Well, no, you just say, this was for you, Jason.
Right.
Update this piece of data, or this is ready to look. Can you review this for me?
It's actually interesting. I wonder if you could put, because one of the other features I didn't mention was triggers. I wonder if you could put a trigger that if you get @mentioned on an object, you auto-followed it.
I'm sure you could.
That'd be neat. So second one was email replies, which is basically that if you get a Chatter email and you hit reply, it'll go back into Chatter, and so then the conversation continue without having to go into Chatter. That's a great feature. And then the last feature,
sort of backwards, but
meaning,
I mean, it's great. It's great because oftentimes someone will ask you a question in Chatter, and you're not sitting in front of it, and like I always mention, it's not real time. It doesn't auto refresh. Like, you're not sitting on the Chatter screen and watching the new stuff come into your feed. You have to hit the refresh button. But this, emails, you're sitting in your email client, or you get a little notification or something, and it's a quick yes or no answer. You don't have to click something to go to you just say, reply yes. It does bring, your signature in sometimes, and things like that. So you have to delete stuff.
A best practice is to delete everything in the email and just send back a blank email with the response. And it doesn't work for things like mentions. You can't put @mentions in your email reply, but you can put
topics, right? Can you?
Topics work, yes.
Oh, okay.
Topics work right. So actually, there's been a lot of going on in the Dreamforce portal, because now there's a lot of, you can email back in, so it's nice. That's like sort of kicking back off again. And the last thing was a nice feature that it's kind of hidden, actually. It doesn't pop out at you, which is because A, you have to turn it on, and B, you have to sort of find the right area on the dashboard to do it. But you can take a dashboard component.
I think it's only certain kinds.
Certain kinds of dashboards?
Like metrics, tables, and gauges, I think.
Just those?
I think so.
Okay. And you basically, it gives you a little icon pops up, and you click on that, and then you can take that snapshot of the dashboard and send it into the Chatter feed. So it's nice for identifying things, and then using that with a mention is good, because you can say, hey Justin, I saw you didn't log in last week. Why? And I can mention you and then put pound not so awesome.
Embarrassing.
Pound embarrassing. So a great way, again, I think we've really started to use it. As we talk to clients, I've been talking to more and more clients about Chatter. I've been showing them sort of ways you can really use it, almost as a way of taking over a little bit of workflow and taking over a little bit of approval. A client who was on Professional Edition, who doesn't have approvals, I was saying, well, here's a way you can use it that's sort of like an approval, meaning you can go into the opportunity at the top, chat it to somebody, and say, hey, why don't you approve this? Right? So, it's not a true approval process with all the bells and whistles that you get in Enterprise, but a way of kind of working around that. So
I can't decide for the dashboard piece if it's better to have or what I want, or maybe I want the option of having the snapshot of the picture at that point in time, or do I want that picture to continue to refresh as the dashboard refreshes?
Well, I'll tell you, you're not going to get the second part. You're going to get the first.
Well, I know I'm getting the first. I know what it is. It is the snapshot in time. I just can't. I want to think like maybe I can get I want both. But I want the choice. I don't want it to always be that second thing.
Yeah, it's got to be a snapshot, because you're making a choice in time to share that piece of data. You shouldn't have to think what that data is going to look like in 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. You need to look at it from one point and not from another. All right. Next up, kind of fun news, media streaming news. Amazon.
We love media streaming.
We do. Well, we're big users. I mean, to be honest, I've been using Hulu Plus for a couple weeks now, catching up on all these.
Couple weeks. That's like a lifetime.
It's a cloud lifetime. I've been watching The Office and Parks and Rec and all sorts of episodes that are kind of, I either missed a season of, or I didn't have the most current season TiVo'd. Really enjoying it. Lots of good stuff they do in Hulu Plus. It's a paid service, but at some points, everything's a paid service.
Pay for commercials. That's lame.
Paying commercials is lame. I agree. But
I'm paying you. I don't want commercials.
True enough. Amazon's launching their non-commercials Prime streaming with over 5,000 movies, and they have TV shows for Prime users. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, which I am, I use Amazon almost way too much. Right? It's almost addictive. We talked about, the wife came to me this morning and said we need toothpaste, and I went on Amazon and ordered up a 6-pack of toothpaste. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's kind of sad.
Well, because it's cheap and it's fast and it comes to you in Prime for free. So for Prime, I played with it this morning. I actually started watching Little Shop of Horrors, 1986, I think, and it was okay. It wasn't great. First of all, it's on your computer, so because really, where do you want it? I want it on my iPad, and I want it on my iPad, Apple TV.
I was going to say if it takes off, they'll do that, but I should say if they do that, it might have a chance to take off. sort of one of those not sure.
Catch-22s.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. I read that book.
And again, and it was a little bit choppy, and it was done in Flash, so it's not going to work on iPads very quickly because it's done in Flash. It also, there was just some odd things when I popped it out to try to pull it to full screen. It kind of lost itself, and it was okay. I mean, it's totally free, so I'm already paying for Prime because I want free shipping for a year. So this is net free. I think it's their way of getting in, and they've got a lot of Prime members. They're probably going to way of testing it, and they might make it around something that you pay for later on. So then Netflix later that afternoon says, hey, you know what? We'll show you streaming. We will launch a new agreement with CBS, which CBS has been holding out, that allows. I think they're going to put some of their older shows and a few new shows, including their old show called Star Trek, on Netflix streaming. So Netflix TV streaming, which is great.
So CBS wasn't on Netflix.
CBS didn't have any shows on Netflix. This is where you go search for something, and yes, I want it all in one place, but you go search for something you want to watch streaming, and it's not there. Is it on Apple TV? Oh, but you can purchase on Apple TV. Oh, let's go over to Hulu. Hulu has it, but it's with commercials, but they only have the last 2 episodes. Let me go to RCN On Demand. Oh, they have 3 episodes, but those are caught with commercials too. I think that's why Hulu gets away with commercials, is because On Demand, basically anything that's new, that's not on CD or DVD, you can throw commercials in and still, people won't get too angry.
I get it. I don't like that.
I mean, you're a huge Netflix user.
Yes.
You like the fact that CBS is coming to Netflix?
I guess. I don't even really know what's on. That's the thing. I don't know what's on what anymore. I never watch anything when it's on. So I don't even know what. All I know is I watch Thursday night comedies on NBC. I watch The Office, 30 Rock, and Community that night, but still on DVR. They start at 8, and I wait till 9:30 to start watching them because I just can't.
And the thing is, you say, well, you mean A, you're getting commercials, you're skipping through them. B, you're paying not only for the cable service, but paying for DVR service. So you're paying on top of your cable service to be able to do that. So I find it interesting you think the $7.99 a month for Hulu is...
Well, I wouldn't ever not have cable.
So close. We just need sports. We get sports, and I'm there.
If you give me football and basketball and baseball...
Well, that's why that announcement that I think I shared on the podcast.
I'm sorry, my cable company blocks me from going to ESPN3.com. I can't even watch it.
Well, that's your cable company. Find a new one.
But I can't. I'm actually not allowed to have a different cable company, which means that's my internet provider.
It's true.
They won't allow me to go to ESPN3.com.
Time for you to move. So I gave you the I don't know if we talked about this, but Apple TV, which is has the new Apple TV, the small little unit. We both have them. It allows you to do stuff. Allows Netflix. They put out a survey, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, saying would you want these services as well? Because it's running the same operating system as the iPhone, the iPad, which says that it can run applications. Wow. Okay. Well, all those applications, like Hulu, like all these things that run on the iPad, should be able to run on the Apple TV.
It has Netflix already.
Including things like DirecTV Superfan package, which streams live NFL.
My Sling box, which I can sling from my cable box through the Sling box to the Apple TV sitting right on top of the cable box.
Or take that little Apple TV with you and bring it to the hotel.
Yeah.
Like we're going to do this weekend, and stuff it in a room, and then you have full Apple TV and Netflix in wherever you are.
Bingo.
Bango. Just saying. So, anyway, that I think is going to be the coming of DirecTV or of NFL on. I think this year you're going to see NFL Go as an app.
I want it.
It's coming.
That I want. That I'll pay for.
Some other news. We have Google Docs. This is kind of a little neat one, but it shows that Google. We talked about the other day how you can purchase 16 terabytes worth of data.
Yeah.
Well, now you have a place to put all. It now recognizes a bunch of formats.
Right. So this is for the viewer, right?
Yes.
This is now they're launching support for 12 new file types, a bunch that have to do with Microsoft Office, so like Excel and PowerPoints, Apple's Pages.
That's great. I love Pages.
Which you love. A bunch of Adobe products, including Photoshop, and a bunch of PostScript, XML paper specification TrueType. I've actually never heard of some of these. TrueType.
It's like type, but true.
True, right? And the viewers is when you're in Gmail and you get a someone sends you an attachment, but they have the little view link, and you could click the view, and it opens the document itself within sort of a Google Docs viewer, so you don't have to actually download the document, which is great because I hate having like my downloads folder full of just garbage, right? If I want to download it, I'll download it. Otherwise, let me see it, and let me see it well. Like,
I have an app pick of the week some week for that, but okay, go on.
You have an app pick of the week for that?
Yes,
some
I
week?
do.
Not this week.
Not this week.
It also will work in the. Apparently, it'll work in the embedded options. So you know how you can embed Google Docs into websites.
Oh, nice.
You can embed these. Yep. So I mean, I could see this, down the line being very like collaborative if you're using the Google App Suite and you have sites and you have a designer somewhere not in your office, and they can take a Photoshop file, pop it up onto Google Docs, and pop it into a site that you can all collaborate on. A lot of interesting little use cases.
I think we're getting closer and closer to G Drive, which is what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, this is sort of. I mean, there's no mountable drive. This is just web UI, but it is essentially that.
That's it. Give me a mountable drive.
Let me mount my Google Docs.
Yes.
And get to it, and then the issue is like when you open it, where's it go? Like if it's a Google Doc,
I wouldn't even care if it opened as a URL into Chrome.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you have a mountable drive with documents. You sort of then have to be able to open that document, do something to it.
Pages document, I want to open Pages. Excel documents, I want to open Excel. If they're Chrome document, if they're Google Sheets document, open in Chrome. Just
Seems
open
difficult to open like a document in a web interface and allow you to edit it and save it. I mean,
it's not a web interface. It should be a file. It should be on the file format. Again,
but save it back. I mean, that's some pretty high end stuff.
Just creating a web dev. It just gives you a web dev view of your Google Docs. Not high end at all. Anyway, it's coming. G Drive. Wait for it. Want it.
They're not going to call it G Drive.
They're going to call it G Drive.
No, they're going to call it like G Files.
That's just being ornery. All right. Next up, we're going to skip one and come back to it. So
we're skipping what?
We're skipping one. We're going to come back to it. We're going to skip Cora. We'll come back to it after your news
after these messages. It's not my news. It's Imperial news. Imperial launched a service, I'll call it a service, called CloudFocus, which is a website that essentially crowdsources development. So a lot like, I think, I'm trying to remember, is it 99 Designs, I think is one of these, where, you can sort of put up sort of projects. Guru.com, I think, is another one where you put up projects and people can bid on them and go ahead and perform the tasks and get rated and get paid for them. So I think that they're kind of considering it more of a challenge, and people will put up different challenges or projects that need to get solved by developers. Developers will come in, look at the challenges, submit entries, and a panel will review it and pay out money for the solution. And I believe Imperial has said that they're committing $1 million in contest funding to help start sort of seed the initiative, sort of get people out there to use it, and I think that this is their way of scaling. Like I have the feeling that you'll see.
Narinder said in an interview, he said, I'm not going to compete with Deloitte and Accenture. Deloitte.
It's called Doolittle. This podcast is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts.
We'll take that out in post. So he said, I'm not going to compete with them in terms of just scaling, but this is a way through crowdsourcing that I can compete. I think it's interesting. I was looking at some of the challenges. Beat Jeff Douglas. Okay, that's interesting. Facebook Scoreboard application. So a lot of them are Salesforce.com focus, which obviously is important to us. Case by phone via Twilio, okay. Facebook Likebox visual force component. And then there was one that actually LinkedIn status updates to Chatter. So I guess be able to connect up your Chatter to your LinkedIn, and when you post to LinkedIn, it then posts to your Chatter, which you then can have posted to your Twitter. So at some point, you're just going to hit one button, and the whole world's going to know what you did.
Yep.
It does make me think. I have a few times posted something to Chatter, thought, oh, that's a good tweet, and then gone over to Twitter and done it. But I definitely want the wall, because
the wall's good.
I think the wall of I got to go different application.
I want the checkbox, but I want it default not checked.
And I want it. and I want to. Are you sure?
Yeah.
An Are you sure button. Just
Absolutely.
like Twitter to Facebook. I don't like that the integration to Twitter to Facebook is all or nothing. I want it like I got it for LinkedIn.
It should be Foursquare. It should be like Foursquare.
Or the hashtag. Hashtag FB. Right. Just like in. And
I think they have that.
Really?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, well then I want that.
Well, then you should set that up for yourself.
I will set that up for myself. So interesting. I mean, Imperial is a huge cloud computing company and does a lot of great work. But this seems like an interesting take on it. Don't know where it's going to go, but interesting. Maybe we will participate in some of these contests.
Maybe.
And then the last bit of news was something that came up the other day. We started talking about Quora. I think I mentioned it on the podcast. Days later, I was in there messing around, and I added you as a person and found out you'd already been in there like a day earlier, messing around. So I thought we'd talk about it because...
Beat you to the punch.
I think, yes, you did. You beat me to the punch, although I knew about it before you did.
Yeah, you did.
So I educated myself about Quora, and then I brought it to you. So I think we should talk about it a little bit, because it's an interesting take on a lot of things we've seen out of Salesforce, the concept of ideas, basically, or answers. And it's sort of a Twitter clone, and it's sort of a Wikipedia thing. So it's a little bit about collecting knowledge. It's a little bit about answering questions. It's a little bit about actually becoming an expert and being like a LinkedIn expert. And it's a little bit about following and seeing other people and seeing what they're doing. So, I mean, thoughts? I mean, you've been in there. I've seen you pretty super active.
Not super active. I haven't been in the last week or so. It's not that sticky for me. I kept going back and seeing the same stuff over and over. I also found that people got a little confrontational in there. I started off answering questions about things that I know, Salesforce, Chatter, and someone asked, why is Chatter free, and I gave my explanation of why I thought it was free, and someone just commented on my explanation, Chatter propaganda. That's all he said. Chatter propaganda, Salesforce propaganda, and I was like, I gave a perfectly logical answer to why I thought Chatter was free and why it was. Then someone else said or maybe the answer was Chatter versus Yammer. What would you choose? Right. And I said, well, I think Chatter is the better option because the pricing, it's free, and then if you want, you can extend it to work with the rest of Salesforce.com, and Yammer, you're sort of in Yammer, right? And someone said, Salesforce propaganda. And I was like, who does that? Are you the product manager for Yammer? Who are you? Why would you do that? I didn't like it. I didn't like that piece of it.
It is interesting because it's mixing a lot of different universes. So there are people in there talking about, I joined one about podcasting. I joined, obviously, the Salesforce one. A couple things I like about it. One is you can become, when you're following a topic, you then can write your bio about that topic.
Right, your bio changes as you bounce around from page to page.
So whatever topic you're on, so you relate your bio to the topic that you're on, which I think is very good because, again, I might be extremely good at Salesforce stuff, but I also have been doing podcasting for quite a while now, since 2007, as you might have heard, because you've been doing it with me. So... I would go and say but I wouldn't want to have that combined bio, meaning Salesforce.com, services provider and podcaster since 2007. So it's nice to have the kind of bios split up. And it also gives some reference to, okay, well, who are you and why are you answering this question? And making, my answers seem, I guess, important. LinkedIn's tried this before. They have their own answers sort of community thing. Obviously, Salesforce has it, but Salesforce is obviously based just on Salesforce. So here, what you have is a very mixed community. So in the question about Salesforce versus Microsoft Dynamics, you're getting a mix of people who are both pro and con. When you go over to Salesforce, some Salesforce answers, and someone asks, "What's up with Microsoft Dynamics?" You know what the answer you're going to get.
Well, that wouldn't necessarily be it's a more focused.
Right.
They're asking what's wrong with my formula,
and that's why it's much more Wikipedia based, meaning that it's supposed to be for everybody. And just like Wikipedia, I don't know if you ever tried to enter something into Wikipedia or added to it. I've done it, and I've had my things removed, and I've had my things edited, and I've had things stay for a million years. But it's a very contentious thing, that your opinion versus my opinion versus what's the truth. So I actually think it's an interesting project. I find that I got in, and all of a sudden, all these people started following who I'm following on Twitter. So there's a lot of connector
I pulled
there.
in my, my whole, it allows you to who do you want to follow? Do you pump in your Twitter, pump in your Facebook, and here you are. Here's a bunch of people you're following now, and then it finds topics for you about things that you've tweeted about. It was that part of it was cool. The sign up, the setup, that all worked really well. I guess I didn't appreciate the smirkiness. If you're gonna disagree with me, that's fine, but do it in a constructive way that adds to the community, and don't just be you're spewing propaganda.
But there, I don't know if you look, but there's lots of ways to vote up and vote down to suggest comments. So I think it's nice is it's self-regulating. So hopefully it comes on. Anyway, I don't know if it's something that will stick around forever. But
there's already clones and competitors to it. So I don't even know how long it's been around. So this might be something that we just totally missed 2.5 years ago, and it's you guys are just way off.
Based on the amount of people in it and doing it, and the amount of times I've been seeing it get referenced recently, I think it's been the last 6 months or so, probably. My guess. Let's move on. CloudFocus app pick of the week. Go, Justin.
Wow.
That
was robot style.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is an app that I haven't, full disclosure, haven't used, but am doing research on for a client.
Do you own stock in this company?
No, I don't.
Have you
full
sold
disclosure.
or resold this? Does any of your parents or siblings work for this company?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
It's a product that I'm researching and am likely going to use for a client within the next couple of weeks. The name of it is called QAS Transactional Address Verification.
That just rolls right off the tongue.
Right off the tongue, just like CloudFocus App Pick of the Week. It is on the Salesforce.com App Exchange. It is a add-on for Salesforce.com. And what it does on a transactional basis, in real time, will fix addresses. It will fix, incorrect zip codes in accounts, contacts, leads, and contracts. It will,
Did you say contracts?
I did. I said contracts.
Okay.
How about that?
So someone actually is using that contract object.
Apparently so. It can do it in, on a, as they come in, so as they get created. It can do them from web to lead, so it can clean something on its way in from web to lead. It can also clean something, as you're entering it. You can sort of create filters for how you want it to work. You can also do it in bulk, so you might, have a whole, list of, 10,000 leads you just purchased and uploaded into the system, and you want to bulk clean them. It will clean them for you, and it does things like spelling, zip code matching. If it's written in all caps, it'll sort of change that for you, spelling.
So it's not looking for the truth. It's just looking for the problems. Meaning it's
it knows the truth, and it's fixing the problems.
Okay, but it doesn't know if you misspell my name. It doesn't know that it's really Jason Arkwood.
No, it has nothing to do with your name. It's only addresses.
Only addresses. Okay.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with your name. It's only addresses.
Okay.
So it's going against a database of U.S. and Canadian addresses, and essentially it's like an API level integration that does not send anything but the record ID and the address that it's cleaning. So there's no, it doesn't tie that address to your name or anything like that. So for data, and we've talked many times about this, know where your data is going when you're connecting applications in the cloud. It's essentially just sending the record ID so that it can update it, and the address field or fields that it's sending over, like address 1, address 2, city, state, zip, country, etc. So yeah, I think it's a great product. Pricing, because you know that I know it. It's a per transaction.
It's funny. It's the first time you've actually written the price, I think, and it's one of those like, whoa.
It's a crazy pricing. Yeah. So just to clarify, it's based on a transaction basis. One cleanup is 1 transaction.
And again, is that 1 field or is that 1 full record?
It's a full record.
So if I have 5 problems wrong with my lead, the state, the zip,
1 transaction.
Okay. Good.
But even if there's nothing wrong with your address on your lead,
so just to
it's
look
still
it up.
Checking. Just to look it up is a transaction.
I guess it is looking.
So 25,000 transactions is the smallest package, and that's $500. That's sort of your buy-in price.
Mm-hmm.
It then goes up to 75,000 transactions for $1,000. And it goes all the way up to 500,000 transactions for $4,000, and they don't expire. That's sort of your buy-in price. So you can buy 25,000 and say, okay, this $500. Let me see how this works, and let them expire, or continue to tack on at the once you get they'll let you know, hey, you've used 24,000.
And you have to keep buying them in these packets.
That's my understanding. Yeah, I mean it's not really very expensive. So $500.
No, I mean it's I mean even at 500.
I mean for people that do a lot of mailing lists and campaigns, marketing campaigns, mailing lists, this is pretty good.
2 cents a transaction.
Pretty good option.
If you get the mailbacks, like where you wasted the 44 cents, right. So then if you do that math of, well, I get 5% of my people come, the addresses come back because of bad mailings, and that's 44 cents time plus the mailing cost plus all the other. You can see how this could make sense.
Clean CRM data is good CRM data. So
should have been
I wonder if they use something along those lines, because they should use something. I should work for them.
All right, so it is. That's full disclosure. QAS transactional address verification.
Correct, on the App Exchange.
Great. Mine is going to be a little bit of a story.
Go on.
Of a man named Brady.
Go on.
No, it is from I think someone who I picked at least 1, maybe 2 of his products before. A man who works for Salesforce.com. Full disclosure. Traded as CRM on the NASDAQ.
Trades as CRM on the App Exchange.
So there's a product for us Mac heads. We are a Mac shop, and you end up picking way too many Force.com Labs products. I would end up picking way too many Mac products. But at the end of the day, when I'm staring at the podcast in the morning, I'm like, what am I going to pick? Oh, look, that thing that's sitting in front of me. But this one, actually, we were discussing something. We were doing work for a client the other day, and we wanted to upload rich text fields.
Right.
And we were looking at the product we use, which is called Alexi Loader, which is written by Simon Fell. I will tweet him later, so don't worry about it. He'll get the credit for it. And I looked at it, and he hadn't been updated since. He numbers them by the API reference. So last one was 17, meaning he had used the 17th version of the API for Salesforce. Wow, this is getting geeky, but just hang in there. So I said, well, that's crazy. Like, I wonder if there's been an update. I go to this page, which I love you, Simon, but you got to update your page. It looks right out of 1997. And I see this hasn't been updated in a long time. So I decided, since I've actually communicated with him a couple different times on a couple different products, I said, are you going to update this? Lo and behold, he tweets back 2 days, saying, oh yeah, I was thinking about doing it anyway. And then 3 days later, he tweets that he actually put in a new version 21. So it's Alexi Loader version 21 for the Mac. Has a couple new features in it. Seems much faster. We tested it this morning, but basically allows you to do all the stuff that you can do with the data loader on the Windows side. I guess it's built by a guy who works for Salesforce. It's not officially supported by Salesforce, but it's a great app. I mean, for those of us on the Mac side who want to upload tons and tons of data, this is the way to do it.
It is literally a Apex Data Loader clone.
It's a clone
for the Mac. It works exactly the same. Same features.
And works great and is free. $0.
$0.
Well, you do have to have a
good.
Salesforce license, so
to use it. Otherwise, there's nowhere to load your data.
So version 21. So it's based on the new APIs. And guess what you can do now?
What can you do?
You can upload into rich text fields.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Yeah, it is pretty fancy. All right, well that wraps.
Does it have other new things with
a lot of new stuff?
Well, does it have other new items from the API? Like, are there other
I have
things?
not studied the API in depth.
Why not?
Well, I just haven't. But maybe I will.
There's one thing about it that I always didn't like, and I wonder if you got this on the Mac. You always, every time you logged in, you needed to have your token.
Just sitting there.
You always need your token.
Have you tried the Trapdoor product made by someone called Simon Fell that allows you to keep all your username and passwords, and maybe it reads from that?
No.
Okay.
I'll try that.
So anyway, LexiLoader by Simon Fell. It's under PocketSoap.com.
PocketSoap.com
/OSX/LexiLoader. But I will post it in the show notes, as it were. And that wraps up this week's CloudFocus Weekly, because it is a week. 33rd episode. You can see this. You can see the blog post and all of the podcast episodes at blog.arkusinc.com. That's ARKUSINC.com. And you want to subscribe by RSS, you can do that there. Put it into your Google Reader. If you want to follow the company, it's twitter.com/ArkusInc, or we're on Facebook, facebook.com/ArkusInc. I'm at twitter.com/JasonMAtwood, and Justin here is at twitter.com/JustEdelstein. As always, if you want to make sure you get the podcast whenever we put it out, or whenever we do anything with it, which is generally weekly. I don't think we've actually missed a week since we started back in July.
We're pretty good.
We're pretty good, even though this one's early because I have some scheduling conflicts. But we'll be back next week, definitely. So because of the CloudForce, we'll be talking about that and what we expect, or you'll be doing before CloudForce next week. So you want to go to iTunes and subscribe to us. Type in CloudFocus Weekly, subscribe, leave a review up there, 5 stars and above. Tell us why you really like us. Or tweet us up whenever you see us tweet, and that would be great. And until next week, until next time, enjoy those cloudy days.